Hi, and welcome back to Hill and Ponton's VA Disability Blog. I'm Natalia Joffrey, the company COO.
And I'm attorney Ann Linscott.
And we're going to keep talking today about other interesting VA topics, right, Ann?
Yes.
And this one's a biggie because, of course, we always get asked about C&P exams, which are compensation and pension exams. So, Ann, why don't you tell everyone what a C&P exam is and why the VA orders them?
So a C&P exam, like you said, it stands for compensation and pension. They are exams ordered by the VA in connection with a claim for VA disability benefit. There's different purposes. So the two, a lot of times, main claims would be for service connection or increased rating. So the C&P exam will oftentimes be ordered if you're filing a claim for the very first time. They obviously need to ask questions to be able to figure out if the condition you're claiming is related to service. And then at the same time, they may also be asking things about symptoms to assign a rating if service connection is granted.
Mm-hmm. So they're basically trying to figure out what's wrong with you and how bad is it, right? To figure out how much to pay you. Doesn't mean they always get it right, but that's the intent of the exam.
Exactly.
Okay. Is the VA supposed to help a veteran?
So, yes. C&P exams are part of that duty. It's called the duty to assist. Mm-hmm. So, the VA is supposed to order exams if it shows that the veteran, if the evidence that is there shows that the veteran may be entitled to a benefit, but there's just not enough evidence of record to assign a rating or grant service connection. So they're not going to order an exam just because you file a claim, but they are supposed to order an exam if you can show that, there's something more, that you don't have to prove that your claim will be successful, but you have to prove that you have a claim that's reasonable, and they should assist you.
Yeah, and this is something that they paid for. People don't need to worry about paying for it or having health insurance or anything like this. This is something that's ordered and paid for by the VA.
Correct.
Can you give people an idea of what it is that happens at the actual C&P exam?
So like I said, it depends on the purpose of the exam. So if you were going in for an exam and it was just for service connection, they may be asking you about when symptoms first started, what kind of things maybe happened to you in service, things like that. Whereas if you're already service connected and you're going in, you're trying to get an increased rating, they're going to be focusing the exam much more on your current symptoms and their impact on you. They're not worried about what happened in service because that's already been established.
So they're looking at how bad is it now?
Right.
So different C&P exams can be used for different reasons. It's basically what you're saying, right?
Right. Now, sometimes, for example, for PTSD, if you've never filed a claim, you file a claim for service connection, you're going to go in and the examiner is going to, it's called disability benefits questionnaires, DBQs. So it's a form. They're going to go over your medical history, your family history, what happened in service, but they're also at the same time going to be talking to you about your symptoms currently. So it, more often than not, if it's a service connection claim, you're going to be also asked about severity. You can go online and look at what the VA has different DBQs for each condition. So you can go and look at those and kind of familiarize yourself with what kind of questions might be asked at the exam. They should be telling you what condition the exam is for, schedule it, so that way you can kind of start to get organized, get your thoughts organized about different symptoms you have, things like that.
Okay. Can you tell everyone how important these C&P exams are? And I will tell you before you answer that I've had a lot of clients in the past tell me, I hate the VA, I don't trust the VA, I'm not going to this exam. What's the point of the exam? They're going to deny me anyway, or they're not going to pay me what they're supposed to, and I'm not going to basically give them the evidence to do it. So why should I go to the CMP exam?
So the reason they're so important is because if a veteran doesn't go to the exam, first of all, that's the VA. When we talked about the duty to assist again, if they order an exam and you don't go, they've then completed their duty to assist. They don't have to help you anymore. You can't say that they didn't try. The big reason also is if you don't go, that's a very quick and easy way for the VA to deny whatever you're going for. So you don't want to make it any easier for them to deny either an increased rating or service connection, any claim that you file. So even though a lot of times they are frustrating, I know frustrating doesn't truly encompass some of the feelings that are tied with CMP exams, but it is important to go. I always just say, don't make the VA's job easier.
You're hurting yourself and your claim in the long run. I mean, you're giving them an easy denial versus something for us to work with, where you went to the CMP exam and, whatever assessment at least you can then argue that the assessment was incorrect or that it was more severe. And we've had cases, right, where the CMP exam was actually favorable.
Yeah, it happens. It does. and even with service connection, that's a very good example of, you might have a favorable CMP exam where the examiner gives a favorable opinion relating, just for example's sake, PTSD to service, but they lowball the rating. So maybe the examiner didn't really get a good picture of your symptoms, but having that favorable, because you went to that exam, you have a favorable exam in terms of getting service connection, and can go from there fighting the rating. So, whereas if you didn't go to the exam, they're going to deny service connection and you won't be getting anything.
Right. I heard that you can ask for the CMP examiner's qualifications.
Yes.
Is that true? And if so, how do you get those?
So it is true. There's been case law that decided that. It's probably not the easiest thing to do. So one thing that I know that we do a lot, we can request a copy of the exam, get that, we can send it to a veteran. The veteran, even if you don't have an attorney as a representative, or any representative, you can request not only the qualifications of the examiner, you can request the exam itself, which should at the very least have the examiner's name on there. There's no formal procedure as far as there's no form to fill out requesting the qualifications, things like that, but calling the regional office, asking for a copy of the exam, submitting. I always say submitting something in writing is better. That way there's a paper trail. But it is important, and it's something that we look at a lot as far as when you're weighing the evidence. If the CMP examiner, made unfavorable findings and their qualifications are not competent as far as they're not a specialist in the field, or for whatever reason, doesn't stand up to the level of credibility that maybe some of the other evidence in the record has, that's definitely comes into play when we're trying to explain maybe why an unfavorable exam shouldn't be relied on.
Okay. How do you know if it was favorable?
It's really just reading the exam. So if on mental health DBQs, there's boxes that an examiner marks as far as the level of social and occupational impairment. The DBQ forms for every condition are the questions that are asked on those are directly related to the rating criteria that the VA uses to rate conditions. So you can kind of tell, if it's a knee exam, knees are rated a lot on range of motion. If the exam lists a range of motion finding that doesn't meet the range of motion requirements for a higher rating, then you know that exam is unfavorable in the sense of it doesn't give a basis for the increased rating.
Right. Okay. What if you get an unfavorable exam, or what you deem to be an unfavorable exam? Can you appeal it? Is there any way to basically argue the findings or fight them?
There's definitely, so you can't appeal it like you would. It's not a decision in and of itself. So there's no
Okay.
appeal rights, whereas, if you get a rating decision and it's denied, you can appeal. If you do get an unfavorable C&P exam or a C&P exam, that doesn't fully, like I said, it could be favorable in some aspects, not necessarily favorable in others. You can contest it as far as submit evidence directly addressing the findings. Something we do a lot in cases is, in an argument, I'll be arguing that, the C&P examiner, they noted symptoms that are associated with a much higher rating than the occupational and social impairment indicated. So just arguing conflicting findings. A lot of times also the VA will rely on that C&P exam and then seemingly ignore all of the other evidence of record.
Right.
The C&P exam is not the end-all, be-all. They're supposed to look at all of the evidence of record. So it's definitely something, even though you can't formally appeal an unfavorable in exam, there's definitely avenues to address it. So it's not the, again, end-all, be-all of your claim if something is not favorable on an exam.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's all we've got for today. We thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to visit our website or call our office. And thank you. We hope to see you again next time.
Bye.